I never thought I'd be writing this kind of story about my own life. It feels strange, almost vulnerable, to put into words the weight that has been pressing down on me for years now, like a constant background hum of anxiety that never quite goes away. I'm in my late 20s, working a job that pays the bills but barely leaves anything extra, and every month feels like a new challenge just to keep my head above water. The truth is, the economic landscape has changed so much since I graduated college. I remember thinking I'd land a decent job, start building a future, maybe rent a nice apartment, save up a bit, and someday buy a home. Simple plans, really. But reality hit differently. It's like the cost of everything, rent, groceries, utilities, healthcare, has been climbing relentlessly, and my paycheck just doesn't stretch the way it used to, or maybe it never really did. Every day, I feel trapped in this cycle. I wake up, get ready, and try to keep my mind focused on the tasks ahead. But there's always that gnawing worry under the surface: how am I going to cover this month's rent? Can I afford groceries without using my credit card again? Should I really turn the heater on this week, or just bundle up and risk being cold? These small decisions feel so huge when the money's tight. It's exhausting. I often find myself skipping meals, or buying the cheapest, least nutritious food, just to save a few bucks. Sometimes I think about quitting my gym membership, but I know exercising helps my mental health, so I try to hold on to that one small comfort. Still, I feel guilty spending even that money because every dollar counts. I want to say it doesn't affect me emotionally, but that would be a lie. It wears me down. There are nights when I lie awake thinking about the bills I haven't paid yet, about the unexpected car repair or the rising cost of my medication. It's not just stress, it's a kind of sadness that settles in your bones. Sometimes it feels like the system is designed to keep me running in place, working harder, but never moving forward. I've watched friends move away to bigger cities chasing better opportunities, but the cost of living there is even more crushing. Others have started families, bought homes, or gone back to school for advanced degrees. I admire them, but I can't help feeling left behind, stuck in a loop where every step forward requires a leap I'm not sure I can make. My dreams have changed, too. When I was younger, I pictured myself traveling, exploring new places, maybe even starting my own business someday. Now, those seem like luxuries I can't afford to think about. Instead, I focus on making it through the week, on finding little moments of joy in cheap hobbies or time spent with friends. I've had to postpone plans for graduate school, for moving to a new city, even for taking a vacation. It's hard not to feel like I'm giving up on parts of myself. Coping with this isn't easy. I talk to close friends, but it's hard to share the full picture without feeling judged or misunderstood. Sometimes I write in my journal or listen to music that echoes what I'm feeling. Other times, I try to remind myself that this is just a chapter, not the whole story. I'm learning to celebrate small victories, like paying off a credit card balance or making it through a tough month without borrowing money. Still, there's this persistent hope that keeps me going. Hope that things will get better. Hope that I'll find a way out of this cycle. I try to remind myself that I'm more than my financial situation, that my worth isn't measured by my bank account or the size of my apartment. But some days, that hope feels fragile, like a flickering candle in the wind. I'm not alone in feeling this way, though sometimes it feels that way. So many people around me are navigating the same struggles, in different ways. Maybe sharing this story helps a little, not just to vent, but to connect. To say, I see you, I hear you, and I'm trying too. If I could say one thing to my younger self, it would be this: you're doing better than you think. It's okay to feel overwhelmed. It's okay to ask for help. And it's okay to keep dreaming, even when the path ahead looks unclear. Because even in the toughest times, those dreams are the light that guides us forward. For now, I take it day by day, inch by inch. And sometimes, that's enough. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps the content grow and motivates me to create even more great videos. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any new uploads. By the way, I'm curious, when do you usually watch my videos? while working, studying, or just relaxing at home? Let me know in the comments, I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for your support. I never thought I'd be writing my life story feeling like this, stuck, worn thin, like a thread that's about to snap but somehow keeps holding on. When I was a kid, I had these wild dreams, traveling the world, starting my own little creative business, maybe even buying a home by the time I was 30. I imagined freedom, real freedom, where money wasn't a constant worry, but a tool I used to build something meaningful. Now, I'm 27, and all I feel is pressure. A pressure that sits heavy in my chest from the moment I wake up until I finally fall asleep, exhausted and anxious. It's like living in a pressure cooker, one that never lets up. Every month is a balancing act: rent, utilities, groceries, student loans, car insurance, and then those little, sneaky expenses that add up before you realize it. The cost of living keeps climbing, faster than my paycheck grows. I work hard, often 2 jobs, and yet it feels like I'm running on a treadmill that speeds up every time I think I'm catching my breath. Inflation has made everything more expensive: food prices, transportation, even the simplest night out with friends has become a luxury I rarely afford. And when unexpected things happen, like a medical bill or my car breaking down, it feels like the walls close in tighter. I try to be responsible. I budget, I clip coupons, I skip meals sometimes just to save a little extra. But it's never quite enough. I've had to make impossible choices. Do I pay for the prescription I need, or do I put gas in my car to get to work? Do I cover the rent, or do I buy groceries? These questions aren't occasional, they're daily. It wears you down in a way that's hard to explain. It's not just the money, it's the constant mental toll, the shame, the fear that I'm failing myself and the people I care about. Emotionally, it's exhausting. I feel so isolated, even when I'm surrounded by people. Friends talk about their weekend plans, vacations, new gadgets, or the latest streaming series, and I smile and nod, but inside I'm screaming. I've missed out on birthdays, weddings, even funerals because I couldn't afford the time off or the travel costs. That's a hard thing to admit, but it's true. The system feels designed to keep people like me invisible, struggling quietly. You're expected to just manage your life no matter what, without a safety net, and that expectation crushes you. Sometimes, I cry in my tiny apartment, overwhelmed by this constant pressure. It feels like drowning, but I can't call for help because I don't want to burden anyone with my problems. Besides, who really understands? People tell me to just save more or find a better job, but it's not that simple. I've applied everywhere I can, taken classes online to upskill, and networked, but the opportunities are scarce or out of reach without the connections or extra resources. It's like the world has built a maze with no exit signs. Coping is a daily challenge. I've learned to find small moments of peace: a walk in the park, reading a book borrowed from the library, watching a sunset through my grimy window. Sometimes I journal to get my thoughts out, which helps, even if just a little. I'm trying to hold on to hope by reminding myself that this is not forever. I want to believe there's a future where I can breathe easier, where I'm not defined by the numbers in my bank account. But hope feels fragile, it's like a candle flickering in the wind. Dreams, I've had to put on hold. I used to think about moving to a city with more opportunities or going back to school full-time. Now, just making rent and keeping the lights on takes all my energy. Buying a car or saving for a down payment feels like a fantasy from another life. Sometimes, I look around and wonder if I'm the only one stuck in this cycle. Is this what adulthood is supposed to feel like? I didn't expect life to be this hard, this relentless. I try to remind myself that my worth isn't tied to my financial situation, but it's a tough mantra to believe when money controls so much of what I can do. I'm scared of never escaping this trap, scared that my dreams will fade away completely. But I keep going because what else can I do? I keep working, keep pushing, keep hoping that someday, somehow, things will change. This story isn't about complaints or defeat. It's about truth. About the reality millions of people face but don't always talk about: the grinding, unrelenting stress of trying to survive in a system that feels rigged. And yet, beneath it all, there's a flicker of something stronger than despair: resilience. I may be tired, worn down, and scared, but I'm still here, still fighting for a future that's kinder, freer, and more hopeful. And that, for now, is enough. I wake up most mornings with this sinking feeling in my chest, like I've already lost the race before I've even started running. It's the same feeling every day, the weight of money worries pressing down on me, stubborn and unyielding. I scroll through my bank app, a ritual I hate but can't stop doing. The numbers barely move, but the bills keep piling up. Rent, utilities, groceries, student loans, everything seems to be climbing faster than I can keep up with. It's exhausting, this constant juggle between what I earn and what I owe. Some days, it feels like I'm just running in place. I make enough to cover the basics, but that's all. No safety net, no breathing room. Just enough to keep the lights on and the fridge from being empty. And even then, I have to pick and choose. Do I buy the cheaper brand of pasta, or do I skip lunch to save a few bucks? Do I dare turn on the heater, or do I wrap myself in blankets and grit my teeth through the cold? I remember when I first started working after college, I thought things would get better. I believed that if I just worked hard, saved diligently, and made smart choices, I'd eventually break free from this cycle. But the reality is harsher. The cost of living seems to be sprinting ahead, and my paychecks are more like tiny hops forward. Every month, expenses rise, rent hikes, gas prices, the price of a simple cup of coffee, and I feel myself getting squeezed tighter. There's this persistent sense of being trapped in a system I didn't choose but can't escape. It's like trying to climb a staircase that's moving upward faster than I can step. I watch people around me buying homes, taking vacations, investing in their futures. Meanwhile, I'm here wondering if I can afford a new pair of shoes without compromising dinner. It's humiliating sometimes, feeling like I'm falling behind even though I'm doing everything right. Emotionally, it's draining. There's a gnawing anxiety that settles in my gut, especially when I have to decide between paying a bill or buying groceries. I try not to let it show, but inside, it's a storm. Nights are the worst, when the world quiets down, and I'm left alone with my thoughts, staring at the ceiling, wondering if I'll ever catch a break. I've had moments where I felt utterly hopeless, questioning if this was how my entire adult life would feel. To cope, I've become a master of small compromises. I've learned to stretch meals, cutting back on fresh produce in favor of canned goods. I've swapped my old streaming subscriptions for free content. I've started biking to work instead of driving, even if it adds an extra hour to my day. Every penny saved is a little victory. But these victories feel hollow sometimes, like rearranging deck chairs on a sinking ship. I try to keep a small flame of hope alive. I remind myself that this isn't forever, that maybe someday I'll earn a raise, find a better job, or move to a cheaper place. But those dreams come with caveats and delays. The dream of owning my own home feels distant, almost laughable. Vacations, spontaneous nights out, even simple luxuries like new clothes or hobbies have been put on hold indefinitely. I watch friends plan trips and buy things I can't afford, and I smile for them, but inside I ache for that freedom. Socially, it's isolating. It's hard to say yes when every invitation means more spending I can't comfortably afford. I've declined gatherings, skipped celebrations, and sometimes even lied about why I can't join in. The shame of financial struggle feels heavy, even though I know I'm not alone. I've met others in similar boats, but society doesn't really talk about this part of adulthood, the constant financial tightrope that many of us walk. Still, I try to hold on to what I can control. I focus on small personal goals, learning a new skill online, improving my resume, or setting aside a tiny emergency fund, even if it's just a few dollars a month. I tell myself that these steps matter, that they're building blocks toward a better future. Sometimes, when the weight gets too much, I talk to close friends or write down my feelings to clear my head. I want to believe there's a way out of this grind. I want to believe that my efforts will eventually pay off, that I won't always be stuck in this endless balancing act. But for now, I live day to day, measuring progress not in leaps but in tiny, painful inches. I remind myself that my worth isn't defined by my bank balance, even when the world makes it feel that way. So here I am, caught in a financial squeeze that never seems to loosen, but still trying. Trying to find light in the small things, to keep hope alive amid the pressure. Because even when the system feels rigged, and expenses outpace income, I hold on to the stubborn belief that my story isn't finished yet. One day, maybe, the scales will tip. Until then, I keep moving forward, one careful step at a time. I never imagined I'd feel this way at 27, like I'm constantly running just to stand still. Every day, it's the same story: wake up, face the pile of bills, check my bank balance, and wonder if I'm going to make it through another month without falling deeper into this hole. It's not just the numbers, the spreadsheets, or the budgeting apps, it's the crushing sense that no matter how hard I try, the economic tide keeps pulling me backward. I grew up thinking if I worked hard, I could build a stable life. Go to school, get a decent job, maybe even buy a place one day. But now, with rent climbing faster than my salary, and every little cost, from groceries to gas, seeming to inflate overnight, those dreams feel like they're slipping through my fingers. Sometimes, when I scroll through social media and see friends posting about new apartments, vacations, or even just a night out at a nice restaurant, I feel this heavy knot in my chest. It's envy, yes, but more than that, it's a deep ache of being left behind in a system that wasn't designed for people like me to get ahead. The funny thing is, I work full-time. I'm not lazy or careless. I've taken extra shifts, tried side gigs, even cut back on almost every non-essential expense. Yet, the bills keep coming. Car insurance goes up. Medical costs creep in. A broken appliance suddenly demands a repair I can't ignore. I live in this constant state of financial triage, putting out fires just so the house doesn't burn down, but never really getting to build anything lasting. It's exhausting. Some days, I lie awake at night just thinking about money, the next paycheck, how to stretch it, what sacrifices I'll have to make. I worry about my future. Retirement feels like a distant fantasy, and even saving for something as simple as a weekend trip feels out of reach. I feel trapped, like I'm running on a treadmill that's speeding up with no way to slow it down or get off. The pressure isn't just about money, either. It seeps into my emotional well-being. There's this persistent anxiety, a gnawing stress that doesn't go away even when I'm off work or with friends. Sometimes, I feel embarrassed to talk about it because it sounds like complaining, and honestly, I don't want pity. But keeping it bottled up is worse. It affects how I interact with people. Sometimes I'm irritable or withdrawn, and then guilt settles in because I know they don't deserve that. To cope, I've had to get creative. I've started cooking at home almost every night, even when I'm tired or craving something quick and easy. I've learned to find small joys in thrift store finds, free community events, or long walks in the park. I write in a journal when the weight gets too heavy. It helps me process the feelings that I can't always say out loud. And occasionally, I reach out to a close friend or family member just to remind myself I'm not alone, even if their struggles are different from mine. What hurts the most is the dreams I've had to put on hold. I wanted to travel, to see the world beyond the city's limits. I dreamed of going back to school, maybe getting a degree that would open new doors. I imagined buying a modest apartment or at least building a small savings cushion that could give me peace of mind. But those hopes feel like luxuries now, things for someday, a vague future when the financial storm might finally calm. Yet, in the quiet moments, I try to hold on to hope. I remind myself that this economic system isn't a reflection of my worth. I'm more than a bank balance or credit score. I'm learning resilience in ways I never expected. Maybe one day, the sacrifices will add up to something better, or maybe I'll find a way to break the cycle altogether. Until then, I keep moving forward, even if it's just baby steps. Living like this, always watching expenses outpace income, feels like being caught in quicksand. The more I struggle, the deeper I sink. But even quicksand has a surface, and I'm determined to reach it, to breathe again without the weight pressing down so hard. That's the dream I cling to, quietly, amid the daily grind. This isn't a story with easy answers or sudden breakthroughs. It's the real, raw truth of living under financial pressure today, the kind that shapes every decision, colors every feeling, and tests the limits of hope. And if I'm honest, that's a tough reality to face, but it's mine to carry. I never thought I'd be writing a story like this, like, sitting down to unpack the weight I carry every single day, the kind that no one sees but feels like a tight knot in your chest that never quite loosens. I'm in my mid-20s, supposed to be in the prime of chasing dreams and carving out a future, but instead, I feel like I'm trapped in a cycle that just keeps tightening around me. It's this constant, exhausting battle with money, the way it slips through my fingers no matter how hard I try to hold on, and the system that's designed to keep me juggling bills while dreams get shoved further and further down the list. I work full-time, sometimes extra shifts if they're offered, but it never feels like enough. My paycheck barely covers rent, utilities, groceries, and the minimum payments on my student loans and credit card. It's like running on a treadmill that keeps speeding up. The harder I push, the more tired I get, but the finish line just moves farther away. Inflation's not just a headline for me, it's in every decision I make. When I go to the store, I see the prices creeping up and have to decide between buying fresh veggies or going for the cheaper frozen options, knowing the cheaper ones won't be as healthy but are what my budget allows. Every time I fill my gas tank, I feel a little more defeated because I know that's less money for anything else, less for the rare nights out or even a small treat like a coffee with a friend. I've had to learn how to budget with almost surgical precision. There's no room for error. I track every dollar, every cent, because a small miscalculation can mean missing a bill or running out of food before payday. Sometimes I catch myself holding my breath when I look at my bank app, waiting for the balance to not be embarrassingly low. It's a strange kind of anxiety, almost like a quiet panic that never really explodes but lives in the back of your mind all day, every day. The thing that hits the hardest isn't just the numbers, it's how this financial pressure weighs on my emotional well-being. I feel exhausted, not just physically but mentally and emotionally drained. The constant stress makes it hard to sleep sometimes, and when I do, I wake up feeling unrest, dreading the day ahead. There's a loneliness in this struggle, too. Friends talk about weekend trips or buying new things, and I smile and nod, but inside, I'm quietly aching because I know I can't join in, not without stretching myself so thin it's dangerous. It's hard to admit that sometimes I'm embarrassed to even say no or to explain why I can't hang out. I worry people might think I'm not trying hard enough or that I'm just being irresponsible. But the truth is, I'm working hard, probably harder than ever, but it's not enough. I've had to postpone so many dreams. I used to think I'd save up for a trip abroad, see new places, meet new people, find myself a little outside the confines of this small, demanding routine. I dreamed about going back to school someday, maybe for something creative like writing or photography, things that actually make my heart race in a good way. But those dreams seem like luxuries now, things for when I'm stable, when I have enough. And honestly, the phrase, when I have enough, feels like a cruel joke because it feels like that moment is always just out of reach. Even buying new clothes feels like a calculated choice rather than a fun, expressive one. I stick to thrift stores and sales, hoping to find something decent that won't fall apart immediately. The thought of spending money on anything extra makes me anxious, because that's money that could be going towards something more urgent. When a friend celebrated their birthday with a big dinner, I wanted to join, but the cost of the meal plus transportation was something I simply couldn't afford without eating instant noodles for days afterward. I had to tell them I couldn't make it. Moments like that sting. They remind me of the gap between me and the people I care about, not in values, but in means. Coping with all this isn't easy. Some days I feel like I'm barely holding on, but I found little ways to survive emotionally. I write sometimes, pouring out my frustrations and hopes on paper, sometimes just to feel like I have a voice, even if it's just for myself. Music helps too, especially songs that speak to feeling lost or stuck but still pushing forward. And then there's that stubborn spark inside me, the part that refuses to give up entirely, even when the system feels like it's designed to keep me down. I remind myself of why I'm doing this, not just to survive, but to eventually break free. To one day wake up without the pit of dread about bills or whether I can afford a decent meal. To not have to count every dollar or say no to the things I want to do. It's a long road, and sometimes I have to be okay with small victories, like finally paying off a credit card balance or managing to save a little bit for an emergency. Those moments remind me I'm not invisible, and that my efforts do matter, even if the world doesn't always feel fair. Looking forward feels both hopeful and scary. I want to believe that my situation will improve, that I can climb out of this hole, but the uncertainty of the economy, the housing market, the endless rising costs, it's hard to ignore. Sometimes I catch myself dreaming again, letting my mind wander to places I want to go, the kind of life I want to live. It helps me keep going. Because giving up would mean accepting that this pressure will define me forever, and I refuse that. So here I am, speaking honestly about what it's like to live under this relentless financial pressure, hoping that maybe someone else reading this feels seen. Maybe this story will reach someone who's also struggling, who understands that behind the numbers and bills, there's a person trying their best, feeling trapped but still dreaming. Because even when it feels like the system is stacked against us, our hopes and our courage to keep going are the things that can't be taken away. I don't know what the future holds, but I do know one thing: I'll keep fighting. I never thought I'd feel this way at 26. I used to imagine my 20s as this exciting time of freedom and growth, moving into my own place, traveling, maybe even going back to school for something I loved. But here I am, stuck in this endless loop of worry, where money feels like sand slipping through my fingers no matter how tightly I try to hold on. It's the kind of pressure that never really goes away. Every month, I sit down with my bills spread out across the kitchen table, and my heart sinks before I even start adding things up. Rent, utilities, groceries, phone, insurance, student loans, each one is a weight dragging me further down. And the numbers never seem to stop climbing. It's like the cost of everything is on a runaway train, but my paycheck just stays the same, or worse, sometimes feels smaller after taxes and unexpected expenses. I work full-time, usually more than 40 hours a week. It's not that my job is bad, I'm grateful to have it, but it's not the kind of job that pays enough to get ahead. After taxes, I bring home just enough to cover the basics, with maybe a little left for emergencies if I'm lucky. But emergencies happen a lot: my car breaking down, a medical bill I didn't see coming, or just needing to replace a phone that stopped working. Those moments don't just set me back a bit, they wipe out whatever little cushion I had, and then I'm back to scraping by. The hardest part is how it eats away at my peace of mind. I'm constantly on edge, calculating and recalculating, trying to decide what I can afford and what I have to skip. Should I buy groceries or put that money toward rent? Can I fill my prescription this month, or do I try to get by without it? I'm not proud of the times I've had to choose between eating well and keeping the lights on. It's a quiet kind of desperation, a low hum of anxiety that never really goes away. Social events feel like a luxury I can't afford. When friends invite me out, I often say no, not because I don't want to go, but because I can't justify spending $15 or $20 on a night out when that money might mean not overdrafting my account. I miss out on so many moments, birthdays, casual dinners, concerts, that used to feel like simple joys of life. Instead, I watch from the sidelines, feeling isolated and sometimes ashamed that I can't keep up. And then there's the guilt. Guilt for wanting more, for hoping to improve my life when it feels like the system is stacked against me. It's like being trapped in a box where the walls are the rising costs around me, and the key is nowhere in sight. Every time I think about trying to get ahead, maybe taking a course to improve my skills or applying for a higher paying job, I worry about the immediate risks. Can I afford the time? What if I don't get hired? What if I lose the job I have? Sometimes, I cry quietly in my apartment because the weight of it all feels unbearable. The dreams I had in high school and college seem so far away now. I wanted to travel, to live in a city I loved, to buy my own car, maybe even save for a home someday. But those dreams feel like distant stars, beautiful but unreachable. I cope by trying to find small moments of relief. I read a lot, books from the library or free online stories, because it lets me escape for a bit. I listen to music that understands this struggle, songs that don't sugarcoat the reality of working-class life. I've started journaling, just to get the feelings out and remind myself that I'm still here, still fighting. Sometimes, I volunteer at a community center, which helps me feel connected and useful, even when my own life feels chaotic. There's also this stubborn hope inside me. Hope that things can change, that maybe I'll find a way out of this financial pressure cooker. Maybe a promotion or a better job opportunity will come along. Maybe the economy will stabilize or even improve. I try to remind myself that I'm not alone, so many others feel this same weight, even if they don't say it out loud. But some days, the hope feels fragile, like a flickering candle in the wind. I wonder if I'm asking for too much, if I'm just supposed to accept this slow grind and forget about the life I wanted. I want to believe that I can build something better, but it's hard to see the path when every step feels like a struggle just to keep from falling backward. This is my reality now, a constant balancing act, a mental tug-of-war between fear and hope. I'm tired, yes. Sometimes I feel defeated. But I keep going, because what else is there? I keep dreaming quietly, in the corners of my mind, waiting for a chance to make those dreams real. And maybe one day, when the pressure finally eases and I'm not just surviving but thriving, I'll look back on this time and be proud that I didn't give up. Because for now, all I can do is take it one day, one paycheck, one decision at a time, holding on to the hope that the future can be different. I never thought I'd feel this way at 26. Not this overwhelmed, not this, stuck. But here I am, living paycheck to paycheck in a world that seems to be moving faster than I can keep up with. Every month, the bills come in like clockwork: rent, utilities, groceries, phone, car insurance, student loans, and somehow, no matter how tightly I hold my wallet, the numbers never quite add up. They keep creeping higher, like a tide that's slowly swallowing me whole, while my income sits stubbornly still. I remember when I first moved out on my own, fresh out of college, bright-eyed and hopeful. I had a decent job, a modest apartment, and a budget I thought I could manage. I was excited about the freedom, about finally making my own choices. But the reality hit hard. The rent was more than I expected. The grocery prices kept rising. Gas prices? Don't even get me started. And it wasn't just the big expenses, small things, too, like the occasional doctor's visit or a bus fare, chipped away at what little I saved. The strangest part is how invisible the pressure is, at least on the surface. To my friends, I'm the same person I've always been. I still laugh, go out occasionally, and keep my social media filled with snapshots of my life. But inside, I feel like I'm constantly walking a tightrope. One wrong step, a surprise bill, a flat tire, a medical emergency, and everything could come crashing down. It's exhausting. Everyday decisions have become a kind of mental minefield. Should I buy the groceries now, or wait until the weekend when I might have a bit more cash? Do I risk using the credit card again, knowing I'll have to pay interest later, or go without something essential? Should I skip dinner with friends to save money, even though the loneliness is starting to feel unbearable? These aren't the kinds of choices anyone wants to make in their 20s. The feeling of being trapped is overwhelming. It's like running on a treadmill that's speeding up while my legs feel heavier with every step. Expenses grow faster than my income, and no matter how hard I try to stretch every dollar, it's never enough. I sometimes wonder if this is what adulting really means, a constant battle between what you need and what you can afford, with no real end in sight. Emotionally, it takes a toll. There are nights I lie awake, staring at the ceiling, heart pounding, trying to figure out how I'll make next month's rent or pay off a looming credit card balance. Anxiety becomes a constant companion, whispering worries about the future. Will I ever save enough to move out of this cramped apartment? Will I ever have a chance to travel, to pursue hobbies, to simply breathe without counting pennies? It's a weight on my chest that I can't shake. I've learned to cope in small ways. I keep a strict budget, tracking every cent I spend, and I avoid temptations like eating out or buying new clothes. I've taken on side gigs when possible, freelance writing, odd jobs, anything to bring in extra cash. But even that feels like a band-aid on a deep wound. The system around me feels rigged, designed to keep people like me hustling but never truly getting ahead. There are dreams I've had to postpone, dreams that feel increasingly out of reach. I wanted to travel the world after college, to see new places and meet new people. I imagined going back to school for a master's degree, building a career that I was passionate about. I dreamed of buying a small place to call my own someday. Now, those dreams seem like luxuries, distant stars I can admire but can't touch. Sometimes, I catch myself fantasizing about hitting a reset button, moving to a place where the cost of living is lower, where my paycheck could stretch further. But that's just wishful thinking, too. Relocating costs money, and starting over can mean losing what little stability I've built. The hardest part is feeling invisible in this struggle. People tell me to just save more or spend less, but they don't see how tight the margins are. They don't know what it's like to watch your paycheck get eaten up by necessities before you even blink. They don't understand the quiet desperation that comes with every late-night worry session, or the shame that creeps in when you can't keep up with friends' lifestyles. Yet, despite everything, I'm not ready to give up. I cling to hope, fragile, flickering hope, that things will get better. Maybe one day I'll get a raise, or find a job that pays what I'm worth. Maybe the economy will stabilize, or inflation will slow down. Maybe I'll figure out a way to break free from this cycle. Until then, I take it one day at a time. I remind myself that I'm doing my best in a system that's stacked against me. I celebrate small wins, like paying off a credit card or saving a few extra dollars. I reach out to friends and family when the weight gets too heavy, even though I hate admitting how hard it is. Living with ongoing financial pressure is more than just a numbers game, it's an emotional grind, a constant test of resilience. It shapes who I am, how I see the world, and what I believe is possible for my future. And while I may feel trapped now, I hold on to the belief that this chapter is only part of my story, not the whole book. Sometimes, when I lie awake at night, the silence feels heavier than the weight of my worries. It's like the quiet amplifies everything I'm trying to hold inside, everything I'm trying not to let spill over. I'm 27 now, and for the past few years, I've been caught in this endless loop of financial pressure that feels less like a challenge I can overcome and more like a trap I can't escape. I graduated college with dreams that seemed so bright at the time. I thought, like everyone does, that hard work and determination would be enough to get me somewhere comfortable, somewhere secure. But the economy didn't cooperate. Instead of a steady climb, it's been a constant scramble just to stay afloat. Every month, my paycheck gets swallowed up by rent, utilities, groceries, and the rising costs of everything else I need just to survive. Rent alone takes more than half of what I bring in, and it feels like every year it inches higher, no matter how much I try to negotiate or move to a cheaper place. But cheaper places come with compromises, longer commutes, less safety, worse neighborhoods. I keep thinking, is this really what my life is going to look like for the next decade? I remember a day a few months ago when the electricity bill arrived. It was higher than usual because of the heat wave, and I just stared at the number for a while. I had to choose between paying that bill in full or buying groceries for the week. I ended up calling the utility company, begging for a payment plan. I hate feeling like I'm begging just to have the lights stay on. It's humiliating in a way that's hard to explain unless you've been there. The constant pressure seeps into every decision I make. Should I skip a meal to save money? Should I say no when friends invite me out, even though I'm lonely and could really use the distraction? Should I hold off on going to the doctor because the copays and medications add up? These aren't choices anyone should have to make, but here I am, tallying costs in my head like a miser just to survive. Emotionally, it's exhausting. There's this gnawing anxiety that never quite leaves my chest. I lie awake worrying about the unexpected, a car breaking down, a sudden medical bill, or even just my phone dying and needing replacement. I'm always bracing for something to push me over the edge. It makes it hard to dream. It makes it hard to hope. Because hope feels dangerous sometimes. When you get your hopes up, you risk getting crushed by reality. I used to want to travel, to see new places, to feel the world beyond the confines of my small apartment and this city that feels like it's growing too expensive for people like me. I wanted to take classes to improve my skills, maybe start a small side business. But those dreams have been on hold for years now. Every dollar I spend has to be an investment in survival, never enrichment. Even little things that once gave me joy, like going out for coffee or buying a book, feel like luxuries now. I try to remind myself that they're not necessary, but that just makes the world feel colder, less colorful. There's a creeping bitterness in seeing prices rise everywhere, knowing that wages barely budge. It's like running on a treadmill that keeps speeding up, and no matter how fast you run, you stay in the same place or even fall behind. I've talked to friends about this. Some get it, some don't. Those who don't sometimes say things like you just need to budget better or maybe you're not trying hard enough. It stings because it simplifies a complex reality into a personal failure, which is far from the truth. I do budget, I track every penny. I work extra shifts when I can. I've even picked up freelance gigs that pay little but keep me busy. Still, the math never works out. There's a system out there that seems designed to keep people like me just barely scraping by. It's not just about individual choices, it's about rising rents, stagnant wages, healthcare costs that can bankrupt you, and a lack of affordable opportunities. It's a rigged game, and I'm stuck playing by rules I didn't get to choose. Some nights, I cry quietly in the dark because the pressure is too much. Other nights, I just sit still and try to breathe through the panic. Coping has become an art form, finding small pockets of peace where I can, celebrating tiny victories like making it through a tough week without missing a payment, or reconnecting with friends in ways that don't cost money. I've learned to find comfort in small things, listening to free podcasts, walking in the park when the weather is nice, or cooking meals from inexpensive ingredients but making them feel special with a little creativity. These moments remind me that life isn't just about money, even though it feels like money touches everything. Looking ahead, I don't know when or if things will get better. Part of me wants to believe in the possibility of upward mobility, of catching a break, of finally getting ahead. But the scars of constant struggle make that belief fragile. Still, I hold on to the dream that one day, I won't have to live with this knot in my stomach every single day. That I can plan for the future instead of just surviving the present. I hope to find a stable job with benefits, to afford a place that feels like home, to travel somewhere far away, to save money without feeling guilty, and maybe even to help someone else who's stuck in the same cycle. These dreams keep me going, even when everything feels impossible. If there's one thing I want people to understand, it's that financial pressure isn't just about money. It's about the erosion of dignity, the quiet loneliness, the mental toll that doesn't show up on a paycheck. It's about wanting to live a full life but feeling trapped in a system that keeps pushing the cost of living beyond reach. I'm still here, still fighting in my own quiet way, hoping that someday, these struggles will be a story of the past, not the endless present. A young adult still trying to breathe, still trying to hope. Hey, friends! If you enjoy this content, don't forget to like the video and share your thoughts in the comments. We really want to know what you like and what can be improved. What do you think of the video? Are there any topics you'd like to see in future videos? Your feedback really helps us get better. Thanks for being with us. I never thought financial stress would feel like this, like a slow, constant weight pressing on my chest, reminding me every single day that I'm just barely holding on. It's not like one huge crisis, it's this relentless, grinding pressure that never lets up. I'm 26, working full-time, but somehow, it feels like I'm running in place. Expenses creep up faster than my paycheck grows, and I'm stuck in a loop of tightening my belt until there's nothing left to squeeze. Every morning, I wake up with that familiar knot in my stomach, already thinking about the bills waiting to be paid. Rent, utilities, groceries, student loans, transportation, the list never ends, and the numbers keep rising. I try to be careful, budgeting every penny, but it's like the system is designed to keep me trapped. The rent goes up, the grocery store prices inch higher, the bus fare increases, while my income stays mostly flat. Sometimes I wonder if I'm missing something, some secret way to break free. But the truth is, there isn't one. At least, not one I can see. On good days, I tell myself I'm doing all right. I've got a job, and I'm not drowning in debt, at least not yet. but those days feel fewer and farther between lately. I watch my friends buying homes, traveling, investing in themselves, and I'm stuck wondering how I'm going to afford a night out with a friend, let alone something bigger like a vacation or further education. It's like watching a train pull away, and I'm on the platform, waving but too poor to hop on. The hardest part is feeling so alone in it. Nobody talks about this kind of constant financial anxiety openly. When I mention being stressed about money, people often say things like just save more or maybe you need a better job. But it's not that simple. I work hard, sometimes 2 jobs, and still the expenses pile up. Saving feels like a cruel joke because as soon as I put aside a little, something unexpected comes up, a car repair, a medical bill, or just the electric bill shooting up because of a heat wave. So, the savings evaporate before they even get comfortable. I've learned to make sacrifices I never imagined. I cook at home, skip social outings, avoid new clothes, and constantly hunt for discounts. I sometimes choose to go without things that make life more enjoyable or easier. And the emotional toll? It's exhausting. I feel this dull ache of hopelessness mixed with frustration, like I'm doing everything I can and still falling behind. It's hard not to internalize it, to think maybe I'm not good enough or smart enough to figure this out. Some nights, I lie awake thinking about the future and what it might hold. I had dreams, big ones. Travel the world, own a small home with a garden, maybe even start a creative side hustle or go back to school for something I'm passionate about. But those dreams feel like luxuries now, things to be postponed indefinitely. It's painful to admit, but I've become accustomed to shrinking my expectations just to get through the week. It feels like I'm in this endless holding pattern, watching life pass by while I try to stay afloat. Still, I try to hold on to hope. I remind myself that this isn't permanent, even if it feels that way. Sometimes I reach out to friends or family, just to talk, because sharing this burden makes it a little lighter. I'm learning to be kinder to myself, to recognize that this struggle isn't a personal failure but a symptom of a broken system that many of us are stuck in. The economic environment doesn't care about my dreams or my hard work, it only cares about numbers on a spreadsheet. I'm trying to find small moments of joy and peace despite it all. A walk in the park, a good book, a deep conversation, these things don't cost much but remind me there's still more to life than just surviving. And maybe, one day, with persistence and a little luck, I'll find a way out. Until then, I'll keep going, one day at a time, carrying this weight but refusing to let it define me. Because even when the system feels like it's built to keep me down, I'm still here, still dreaming, still hoping, still fighting. And that, I think, is something. I never imagined money would feel like a weight pressing down on my chest every single day. But here I am, 26 years old, stuck in this relentless cycle where no matter how hard I try, the numbers just don't add up. The cost of living keeps rising, like a tide that pulls everything away from me, and my paycheck feels smaller and smaller in comparison. It's exhausting, not just physically, but emotionally, mentally. It's like I'm trapped in a system designed to keep me barely afloat, constantly scrambling to cover expenses that grow faster than my income ever could. Most mornings start the same way. I wake up, check my phone for the balance in my account, and feel a familiar pang of dread. The rent is due soon. The electric bill just went up. Groceries are pricier than last week. I make a mental list of what I can skip this month, what I can live without. But the list only grows, never shrinks. I've cut back on so many things, streaming subscriptions, eating out, even seeing friends, all because every dollar needs to stretch as far as possible. Sometimes I convince myself it's just a phase, that if I'm patient and work hard, things will get better. But deep down, I'm scared they won't. I work a full-time job, the kind where I'm always told good job and keep it up, but rarely rewarded with a raise that matches inflation. The hours are long, the work repetitive, and I often stay late just to make sure I don't fall behind. Yet, when payday comes, I'm left wondering how it disappeared so quickly: rent, utilities, groceries, gas, and there's barely anything left. I've learned to be hyper-aware of every purchase. A cup of coffee becomes a luxury. A spontaneous trip with friends feels irresponsible. Even small treats, like a book or a movie ticket, have to be justified or postponed indefinitely. The stress isn't just about money. It's about feeling trapped, like I'm in a race I can't win. I watch news stories about the economy, rising housing costs, and stagnating wages, and it all feels personal, like a storm I didn't ask for but am forced to weather every day. I think about the people who came before me, those who had stable jobs and affordable homes, and wonder if my generation is just the first to face this kind of uncertainty so deeply. Sometimes I feel ashamed admitting this pressure. People tell me to budget better or just save more, but they don't see how the system itself is skewed against me. At night, when the world is quiet and I'm alone with my thoughts, the anxiety creeps in harder. I think about the dreams I had, traveling, buying a home, maybe even starting a family someday. All those plans feel like distant stars, shining but unreachable. I've had to push so many hopes aside, telling myself, maybe later. Maybe when things are different. It's heartbreaking. I want to believe in a future where I'm not just surviving, but thriving, but the day-to-day struggle wears down that hope bit by bit. To cope, I try to find small pockets of joy wherever I can. Sometimes it's cooking a simple meal instead of ordering takeout, or walking to the park instead of paying for the gym. I've started journaling, which helps me untangle my thoughts and vent without judgment. I lean on a few close friends who understand without pity. But there are days when it all feels overwhelming, when the worry about bills and expenses seeps into my sleep and I wake up already tired. I'm trying to hold on to the idea that this is temporary, even if the timeline feels vague and distant. I remind myself that financial pressure doesn't define my worth or my potential. I'm learning to ask for help and to be gentle with myself when things don't go perfectly. It's a daily battle, but it's also a journey toward resilience. I want to believe in a future where I can finally breathe easy, where I can save without anxiety, where I can say yes to new experiences without second-guessing the cost. For now, I'm taking it one day at a time, budgeting carefully, working hard, and holding tight to those dreams that feel just out of reach. Because even in the tightest spaces, hope finds a way to grow. That's my truth, honest and raw, feeling trapped, scared, but still trying to keep moving forward, hoping for a brighter day. Sometimes, when I finally get a moment to breathe, I try to wrap my head around how I ended up here, always scrambling, always one step behind. The numbers on my bank app flicker like some cruel joke. Income barely covers rent, groceries, and the essentials. But every month, somehow, the bills climb higher. The rent goes up, the electricity bill spikes, groceries feel more expensive, and that's not even counting the little emergencies that pop up, a broken phone screen, a sudden car repair, or a surprise doctor's visit. It's like running on a treadmill set to accelerate, and no matter how fast I push, the finish line moves further away. I'm 26, working a full-time job that pays decently by most standards. But decent feels like a lie when inflation and living costs rise faster than my paycheck can stretch. The economy around me is a beast, unpredictable, unforgiving, and I'm just a tiny part caught in its gears. I've read about the gig economy and the side hustle culture, and sure, I've tried picking up extra shifts or freelance work. But juggling that with a 40-hour week leaves me drained. It's not sustainable. Sometimes I wonder if I'm just a hamster running in a cage that's shrinking. Everyday decisions have turned into puzzles with no good answers. Do I buy fresh produce or opt for cheaper canned goods? Should I skip my morning coffee to save $3, or is that little comfort too necessary for my sanity? Do I text my friends to meet up or lie about being too tired because even $5 for a night out feels like a luxury? It's exhausting. The constant calculation chips away at my energy and peace of mind. I find myself avoiding looking at my bank balance, almost like ignorance might protect me from the anxiety that comes with it. Financial pressure isn't just about money, it's an emotional weight that presses down on every part of my life. I can feel it in the pit of my stomach when I hear about yet another rent increase or read headlines about the economy tanking. It seeps into my self-worth, making me question if I'm failing somehow because I can't get ahead. I've learned to mask it well, but there are nights I lie awake thinking about bills, wondering if I'll have to move back home, or worse, what happens if something unexpected breaks me? The stress is a silent companion that doesn't leave. Sometimes I catch myself daydreaming about the future I imagined. A small apartment filled with plants, a cozy corner for reading, traveling to new places without counting every penny, or even going back to school without the looming fear of debt. I used to picture buying a car someday, maybe even a home, starting a family when the time felt right. But those dreams have been shelved, paused indefinitely. It's not that I don't want them, I do, desperately, but the financial reality has become a cage that keeps me from reaching them. I cope by focusing on small wins. Cooking meals at home instead of eating out, walking or biking instead of paying for transit, hunting for discounts and sales, even if it feels humiliating sometimes. I lean on a close circle of friends who understand and don't judge. We share tips, sometimes swap clothes or meals, and just remind each other that we're not alone. There are moments of pride in these small acts of resourcefulness, but also moments of bitterness, because none of this should feel like a victory, it should feel normal. I also try to nurture hope in the little things, reading stories of people who managed to break free from this cycle, learning new skills that might open doors, or just imagining a day when money stops feeling like the enemy. I want to believe the system isn't rigged, that working hard will eventually pay off, even though every day says otherwise. Sometimes hope feels fragile, like a flickering candle in the dark, but it's all I have. I'm tired, yes. But I'm also determined, not just to survive, but to find a way to live without this constant pressure weighing me down. I hope that one day I'll look back and see this period as a chapter that shaped me, not defined me. For now, I keep going, step by step, paycheck by paycheck, holding on to the possibility that things can get better. Because despite everything, I still believe in a future where my dreams don't have to wait. I never thought I'd feel this way at 27. Like I'm constantly treading water, sinking deeper into a sea of numbers that don't add up no matter how hard I try. Every month feels like a race I'm losing, expenses creeping up like shadows, always outpacing my paycheck. It's like living inside a cage built from bills and missed opportunities, and the bars tighten a little more every day. When I graduated college, I was full of hope. I had dreams, not wild fantasies, just honest hopes to build a stable life. I imagined having enough to pay my rent on time, maybe take a weekend trip somewhere new every once in a while, and save a little for the future. But reality didn't wait for me to get settled. Rent went up. Groceries became more expensive. The car needed repairs I hadn't budgeted for. My salary didn't move much, barely keeping pace with inflation, if at all. And every time I thought I was catching up, a new expense popped up, insurance hikes, medical bills, that unexpected text from the landlord about an increase. It's frustrating. Not just financially, but emotionally. I wake up some mornings feeling like I'm carrying a weight on my chest, even before I check my bank account. The stress leaks into everything. I find myself avoiding social plans because I can't afford to eat out or go to a movie. I dodge phone calls from friends because I'm ashamed they might want to hang out and I have to say no again. The isolation is real, but I convince myself it's better than the humiliation of admitting I'm barely scraping by. There's a constant hum of anxiety in the background of my life. It's in the way I double-check every purchase, scanning my grocery receipt to make sure I didn't accidentally buy something unnecessary. It's in the endless what-if scenarios that play in my head. What if my car breaks down tomorrow? What if the rent goes up again? What if I get sick? The uncertainty is exhausting. I remember one night, sitting at my kitchen table, staring at a pile of unopened bills. I didn't know where to start. I wanted to call my parents but hated the thought of burdening them. I felt so alone, stuck in this loop where no matter what I did, the bottom line just got worse. I wanted to scream at the unfairness of it all, the system that seems designed to keep people like me in place, grinding away while the cost of living skyrockets and wages barely budge. Sometimes I think about what it would be like to walk away from it all. To just stop paying the bills, stop answering calls from debt collectors. But then reality snaps back, the credit score damage, the eviction notices, the long-term fallout. So I keep going, forcing myself to pick up extra shifts, cut back on every non-essential, and dream smaller dreams. Because the bigger ones feel like a luxury I can't afford anymore. I had plans to travel, see new cities, meet new people, take photos that would remind me of a life beyond spreadsheets and budget apps. I wanted to move out of this cramped apartment into something with a little more space and light. I dreamed of saving enough to eventually start my own business, something creative and mine. But those dreams have been shelved indefinitely. For now, survival is the goal. I find small ways to cope. Late-night walks when I can't sleep, music that helps me forget the pressure for a few minutes, journaling my frustrations because sometimes writing it down makes it feel less suffocating. I remind myself that I'm not alone, that so many others are caught in this same current, trying to stay afloat. Still, it's hard not to feel trapped. Like the system is rigged against people like me, young, working, trying to build a life but constantly falling behind. The gap between what I earn and what I owe feels like a canyon I'm endlessly trying to cross with no bridge in sight. And every time I inch forward, the horizon shifts further away. But there's a flicker of hope buried deep in the struggle. I hold on to it fiercely, like a lifeline. Someday, I tell myself, things will change. Maybe I'll get a better job, or the economy will stabilize. Maybe I'll find a way to break free of this cycle. Until then, I keep going, even when it's hard to believe in the future I once imagined. Because giving up isn't an option. Not yet. I never thought I'd feel so stuck so young. But here I am, mid-20s, juggling bills that seem to grow like weeds, while my paycheck barely moves. Every month feels like running on a treadmill that's speeding up, and no matter how fast I go, I don't get anywhere. It's exhausting. Not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. I can't remember the last time I felt truly free, like I could breathe without worrying if I have enough money to cover rent, utilities, groceries, or that unexpected doctor's visit. The economic climate isn't just a backdrop, it's the cage I'm living in. Inflation hits every part of my life, the price of coffee at the corner shop, the bus fare, the groceries that used to fill my cart now barely cover a week's worth of meals. And my income? It's barely inching forward, if at all. My job feels like a lifeline and a shackle at the same time. I work full-time, sometimes overtime, but the extra hours don't always translate to extra cash because of taxes and unexpected expenses. I remember when I first moved out of my parents' house, there was this hopeful thrill, like I was stepping into independence. I had dreams, to save for travel, to maybe go back to school someday, to build a little nest egg. But that excitement faded fast. The reality of monthly expenses hit like a wave. Rent swallowed half my income. Utilities, internet, phone bills, transportation costs, they all pile on. And that's before I even think about food and personal care. Each decision feels weighted by money. Should I buy fresh vegetables or cheaper canned goods this week? Do I pay for a doctor's appointment now, or hope I can manage without it? Can I afford to go out with friends, or is that a luxury? I've missed birthdays, celebrations, and even basic social outings because money just isn't there. It's lonely sometimes, like I'm shrinking away from the world because I can't keep up. It's not just the money. It's the emotional toll. The constant stress that nags at me, the anxiety that sometimes wakes me in the middle of the night. I try to stay positive, but it's hard not to feel like I'm failing or being left behind. People my age seem to be moving forward, buying homes, starting families, traveling, but I'm stuck paying off debts and wondering if I'll ever get to those milestones. I've learned to cope in little ways. I track every penny, budget religiously, clip coupons, hunt for sales. I cook at home almost every night, which sometimes feels like a chore but also a small victory when I make a meal that doesn't break the bank. I've taken on side gigs when I can, anything to bring in a few extra dollars. And I talk about it sometimes, with close friends or online communities, because isolation makes it worse. Knowing others struggle too helps, but it doesn't fix the problem. There are dreams I've put on hold, big ones and small ones. I wanted to travel, to see new places and have adventures that would shape who I am. Instead, my vacations have become staycations, or days spent exploring nearby parks. I wanted to save for grad school, to advance my career and maybe get a better paying job, but even that feels out of reach without some safety net. Sometimes I wonder if I should just accept this as my life, but then a stubborn part of me refuses to give up. I hold on to hope, fragile as it is. Hope that maybe someday the economy will shift and wages will catch up. Hope that I'll find opportunities one can't see now. Hope that I'll be able to breathe freely again, to plan for the future without fear. It's what keeps me going through the monotony and stress, the idea that this isn't the final chapter. Being trapped in this system is overwhelming, but I'm still here, still trying. It's not a glamorous story, no sudden windfalls, no dramatic breakthroughs, just everyday grit, quiet perseverance, and the hard truth of trying to survive when the odds feel stacked against you. I share this because I want people to understand, financial pressure isn't just numbers on a screen. It's a constant, heavy presence that shapes your choices, colors your emotions, and tests your dreams. And yet, despite it all, I keep hoping. Because what else is there to do? I never thought I'd be here, so deeply tangled in a constant struggle just to keep my head above water. It's like I'm running on a treadmill that's speeding up faster than I can keep pace. Every month, expenses climb a little higher, inching ahead of my paycheck. Rent goes up. Utilities creep up. Groceries cost more. And my income? It barely budges, stuck in the same place it was 2 years ago, when I started this job. The gap between what I earn and what I need feels like a canyon widening with no bridge in sight. Some days, it feels like I'm trapped in a system designed to keep me small. Like the rules were written by people who never had to worry if they'd make rent next month or if they could afford a doctor's visit without a mountain of debt. I'm 26, and I work full-time, sometimes 2 jobs, and yet the numbers don't add up. It's exhausting, mentally, physically, emotionally. I wake up before the sun, already feeling the weight of the day. I grab my coffee, cheap instant because the fancy stuff is a luxury I can't justify, and mentally run through the checklist, pay rent, buy groceries, cover my phone bill, and somehow squeeze in gas money. Sometimes, I have to make the brutal choice between refilling my prescriptions or eating a full meal for the week. It's a nightmare no one talks about openly, but it's real for so many of us. I used to dream big. I wanted to travel the world, go back to school, maybe start my own business. I pictured a life where I could save, invest, and actually plan for the future. But those dreams now feel like distant echoes, drowned out by the sound of unpaid bills and the gnawing anxiety that maybe, just maybe, I'll never get ahead. The inflation in the news isn't just numbers to me, it's the creeping price tag on every little thing I need to survive. Every decision feels loaded with pressure. Do I take public transit and add an hour to my commute, or risk my safety and walk through a sketchy neighborhood after dark? Do I eat out occasionally to boost my morale, knowing it'll throw off my budget, or deny myself that small pleasure because it's not practical? Each choice chips away at my mental well-being, piling stress onto stress. Some nights, I lie awake, heart pounding, imagining worst-case scenarios. What if I lose my job? What if my car breaks down? What if I can't pay my phone bill and lose contact with the world? It's a suffocating feeling, this constant vigilance, like I'm living on the edge of a cliff, waiting for the ground to give way beneath me. Yet, somehow, I keep going. I've learned to be resourceful, coupon clipping, meal prepping, and scouring discount stores. I lean on friends when I can, though I hate feeling like a burden. I try to celebrate small wins, like making it through the month without overdraft fees or managing to save $10 here and there. These tiny victories are lifelines. Still, the emotional toll is heavy. There's a deep sense of frustration, sometimes guilt. I feel like I'm failing myself and the people who believed in me. It's isolating. When friends talk about their vacations or new gadgets, I smile and nod, hiding the pang of envy and the ache of postponed dreams. I've pushed back buying a car, furthering my education, even taking a sick day because every hour missed is money lost. Despite everything, hope flickers inside me. I hold on to the idea that this won't be my forever. That one day, the economic tides will turn, and I'll have the chance to breathe freely. I imagine a future where my paycheck can cover more than just survival, a future where I can invest in myself and my passions. It's a fragile hope, but it keeps me moving. I share this not because I want pity, but because I think we need to talk about this reality. The silent, grinding pressure millions of us face every day. The feeling of being trapped in a system that feels rigged, where working hard isn't enough to break free. If you see me smiling, know that behind it is a person fighting battles you can't always see, dreaming of a day when the scales finally tip in my favor. Until then, I keep putting one foot in front of the other, holding on to hope as tightly as I can. I never imagined my 20s would feel like this, like I'm running on a treadmill that keeps speeding up, no matter how hard I push. It's exhausting and isolating in a way that's hard to explain, especially when everyone around me seems to be moving forward, buying homes, traveling, and building lives that feel stable and bright. But for me? It's like I'm stuck in place, just barely keeping my head above water, swallowed whole by this constant, creeping pressure of money slipping through my fingers. I graduated college with hope and a bit of excitement, thinking, okay, now it's time to build, to grow, to finally live the way I've dreamed. But the reality hit hard, and fast. Rent in my city has skyrocketed beyond what I thought possible. My income? It hasn't kept pace. I work full-time, sometimes picking up extra shifts when I can, but every paycheck somehow disappears before the next one lands. Utilities, groceries, transportation, student loans, phone bills, health insurance, it all stacks up. And then there are the unexpected expenses, a busted phone screen, a car repair, or just that one grocery trip when I had to buy more than I planned because I couldn't stretch the food for the whole week. Every month feels like a puzzle where I'm trying to fit the pieces together, but the pieces keep changing size and shape. The cost of living grows faster than my paycheck, and the gap feels like it's widening with no end in sight. It's not just the numbers, it's what that means for my day-to-day choices. I can't just pick up a new hobby or try a new restaurant with friends. I've canceled plans because I can't afford the subway fare, let alone a night out. I tell myself it's temporary, but the weight of temporary starts to feel permanent. There's a crushing feeling that comes with knowing you're trapped inside this economic system where the rules are stacked against you. It's like trying to swim upstream in a river that never slows down. I want to save, to invest in my future, but my reality is paying rent and making sure I have food on the table. Savings? A far-off dream. Even the small luxuries I once took for granted, an occasional concert, a weekend getaway, buying new clothes, have been postponed indefinitely. I tell myself these are sacrifices for later, but later doesn't come fast enough. Some days I feel embarrassed to admit how tight things are. I worry people will judge me for not managing my money better, as if that's a magic fix. I'm disciplined, I track every dollar, clip coupons, meal prep like a pro. But it's not about carelessness, it's about a system where wages stagnate and prices rise relentlessly. The economic environment feels like a quiet storm eroding my confidence and sense of security bit by bit. The emotional toll is huge. There's anxiety that wakes me up in the middle of the night, wondering if I'll be able to cover an unexpected bill or if my job will change hours. There's shame in having to say no to friends when they invite me out because I simply can't afford it. And sometimes, a deep sadness when I realize that the future I pictured, owning a home, starting a family, traveling the world, feels further and further away. It's like watching your dreams fade in slow motion, feeling powerless to stop it. But I do try to cope. I've found small pockets of joy where I can, reading books from the library, cooking meals from scratch, walking in the park. I lean on close friends who understand and don't judge. I remind myself that I'm not alone, even though it often feels that way. And I hold on to hope, however fragile, that the system will change or that my circumstances will improve. I'm learning to redefine success for myself, not in terms of material wealth or milestones, but in moments of resilience and kindness. I dream of a day when I won't have to make choices based solely on money, when I can breathe easier. Until then, I'll keep pushing through, hoping that the future will hold more space for the dreams I've had to postpone, waiting patiently for the treadmill to slow down. Because despite it all, I still believe that better days are possible, and I owe it to myself to keep trying for them. Sometimes I wake up before the alarm, heart pounding, already feeling the weight of the day before it's even begun. It's that same gnawing anxiety, the one that's been living inside me for years now, the constant, creeping pressure of money. It's not just about having enough to cover rent or groceries anymore. It's about the relentless reality that expenses creep up faster than I can keep up, like a tide rising, slowly drowning everything I thought I could achieve. I'm 27, working 2 jobs, and yet, somehow, every month ends with me staring at my bank account, wondering how I'm going to make it stretch. There's a creeping disbelief that settles over me. How can I be doing everything right and still feel this trapped? I'm not lazy or reckless. I'm careful. I budget. I clip coupons. I skip nights out. But it never feels like enough. The rent alone is a mountain. When I moved into this tiny 1-bedroom 2 years ago, I thought it was manageable. A little high, sure, but manageable. Since then, rent has gone up twice, my utility bills have steadily climbed, and now I'm paying nearly half of my income just to have a roof over my head. That's before food, transportation, healthcare, and the little emergencies that pop up, like the car breaking down last month or the surprise dental bill that wiped out what little savings I had. It's exhausting. Every single day, I'm calculating, recalculating, cutting corners, deciding which bill can wait, and which I absolutely have to pay now, usually the ones that hurt the most. When I pick out groceries, I avoid anything fresh or luxury because I can't justify spending extra, even though I know my body and mind would thank me for better nutrition. I buy the cheapest brand of everything, and I become a master at stretching one meal into 3. But the worst part isn't the math. It's the feeling of being caught in a system that isn't built for people like me to get ahead. I hear about people buying homes, traveling, saving for their futures. Meanwhile, I'm stuck in this endless loop, paychecks barely covering bills, no cushion for anything unexpected, no progress, just survival. Some nights, I lie awake thinking about what my life could be if I weren't living like this. I dreamed once, big dreams, really. I wanted to travel the world, write novels, maybe start my own business someday. Now those dreams feel like a luxury I can't afford to entertain because there's no room in my brain for what if when what now is so urgent. I see my friends posting about weekend trips, new gadgets, fancy dinners, and I don't even get jealous. It's more like a painful reminder of how far away those things are from me. I want to be happy for them, but it's hard not to feel invisible or left behind. There's this quiet shame, too, in admitting that I'm barely scraping by when I'm supposed to be an adult. Coping with this isn't easy. I try to focus on small joys, a walk in the park, a phone call with a friend, a good book borrowed from the library. I remind myself that I'm working hard, that I'm not alone in this. There's a strange comfort in knowing so many others are feeling the same squeeze. But the emotional toll is real. Some days, it feels like I'm carrying a heavy backpack filled with rocks, invisible to others but crushing to me. Sometimes I let myself cry in private, letting the frustration and exhaustion out. Other times, I just keep moving, pretending I'm fine, because I don't want to burden anyone. I've learned to be resilient out of necessity, but resilience is tiring. Looking ahead, I'm scared but still hopeful. I want to believe that one day, the economy will shift, or my situation will improve enough that I can breathe again. I want to start saving, even a little, and maybe one day afford a tiny apartment that's truly mine or take a trip without counting every cent. I want to stop feeling like I'm just surviving and start living. Until then, I'll keep doing what I can, working, budgeting, dreaming quietly. Maybe that's all anyone can do when the system feels rigged against you. Keep going, keep hoping, keep holding on to the fragile light of possibility. Because no matter how heavy this feels, I still want to believe there's something better waiting for me beyond this struggle. That hope, fragile as it is what keeps me moving forward. Thank you for watching until the end. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss new videos. Also, leave a comment, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Your support and engagement mean a lot to me. See you in the next video.